Hey guys, what is going on? My name is Tim Pita and welcome to another book review. This time we're here to look at the first book from Yahtzee Croshaw, aka the master behind Zero Punctuation. His book is called Mogworld, and we're here to see if it's his sign of his calling that he can go to after Zero Punctuation, or if he should just never write again. Let's find out. Lower the gates! For those of you who didn't understand any of what I just talked about, let me give a brief background on Yahtzee himself. Yahtzee Croshaw is a video game reviewer for the website known as The Escapist. He does approximately 5-minute reviews of new games, though it takes him a while to get to most due to the fact that he only does one video a week, and Australian release times are usually when the sequel to the game has been released here in the US. He tends to focus on the negatives when he reviews games, going for a more comedic take on reviewing than actually doing a serious review. I would personally recommend this series. I usually don't agree with what he says in the final review, but he is hysterically funny. Anyway, now that we know about Yahtzee himself, let's take a look at the book. From right off the bat, we see that Mogworld is not going to start out like other books. We have our protagonist Jim, who is an average to weak level mage, who is at wizarding school when they are attacked by rival schools across the border. During the attack, Jim tries to help defend the school until he is struck down. He begins to ascend towards heaven when he is suddenly sucked back to Earth just before he crosses the threshold. He finds himself back inside his decayed corpse in an underground tomb with a number of equally or less well-off, in terms of body functionality at least, undead. As the tomb collapses, a large number of them gather on the surface, where they are confronted by Lord Dreadgrave and some of his minions. He orders them to join his horde, but he is shocked to learn that they are all still sentient and must be bargained with before they will join. They do eventually join, though, and go to Dreadgrave's Doom Fortress. Jim tries to kill himself almost constantly while there in an attempt to get back to heaven, but his spirit is forced back to his body shortly after each death. Eventually, he begins to get used to life in the fortress, torturing adventurers who try to break in and steal Dreadgrave's secrets on raising the dead. All is well until a group of angel-like creatures known as the Deleters arrive and begin vaporizing Dreadgrave's fortress, Dreadgrave himself, and all of his minions. Jim, a female undead named Meryl, and an undead priest named Thaddeus manage to escape by hiding underwater in a swamp since they don't have to breathe. Unfortunately for Jim, Meryl points out that if he wanted to be deleted, he should have just stayed behind and let himself be deleted. Despite his cries of anguish for the next few pages, the Deleters do not return. And so begins Jim's quest to find final, peaceful deletion. I don't want to spoil more than this because the story is really worth reading on your own. There are a number of memorable characters and twists that happen along the way. Some of the revelations near the end are truly shocking the first time you read them, and are cleverly hinted at along the way, making a second read-through just as enjoyable. Now that the main plot is out of the way, let's start talking about the characters who you will see along this journey. Jim is probably the best definition of anti-hero as a protagonist you will ever see. He never wants to stick his neck out for anyone during his single-minded quest to get deleted. He is mean to everyone around him, even Meryl, and she's the only reason he's still functional, since she's the only one who seems to know how to sew things back together in this world. Even so, you can't help but like him for the same reasons you like Yahtzee in his reviews. Even with his gruff attitude, he still ends up doing good and helping people, though he certainly doesn't want people to recognize him for it. Along with Jim, we have our two other main undead characters, Meryl and Thaddeus. Meryl is a constantly upbeat and constantly trying to find the good in a situation undead, with freakishly designed ponytails. Thaddeus is a priest who is constantly saying that Jim is an evil demon, and even though he's an undead too, he constantly says that it's Jim and not him who is evil, and that he has been raised for a righteous purpose, unlike Jim who is just a demon, I guess. The primary antagonist is named Barry. He's a priest to a different religion than Thaddeus, whom they run into shortly after escaping the fortress. Though they shortly escape from him, he crops up again and again with some unseen force giving him insane amounts of power that he uses to take over huge swaths of territory. There are a few more main characters who show up as the story progresses, but I don't want to spoil those because you really should find them out on your own. There is a group of characters, though, collectively known as the Adventurers, who drive a number of the plot points. The Adventurers are the people in the world who do quests for a living and do not much else. They just contribute adventuring to society. However, a number of them are discovered to undergo something called the syndrome, where they begin to act very stiff and wooden and don't respond to outside stimuli nearly as much as they used to. All they care about is questing and looking the best and having the best armor. And eventually, some of them actually undergo a thing where they become completely stiff and adopt a heroic pose for all eternity, even though their bodies are still alive. They just stand there. One of the other characters, who I don't want to name, who shows up later, actually says there are gardens devoted to these statues, these living statues of people who just stand there and pose heroically for all time. I don't know if I have really said it directly up to this point, but Mogworld is very good for one reason above many other books: the humor. I can't think of any other book that has made me laugh out loud anywhere even close to as much as this. The dialogue is hilariously funny all the time, and the things that happen are often so ridiculous that you can't help but chuckle just at what's going on. Yahtzee's descriptions of the world Jim is trying to navigate focus on the unnecessarily detailed and often hilarious aspects of everything around him. You wouldn't want to put the book down just because you want to find out what kind of situation Jim is going to get into next. Yahtzee's writing is also very sharp. You are really drawn into this world that exists around Jim, and you are really connected with Jim in his plight to commit suicide. No matter how many people he hurts around him, you still support him. Speaking of the world, it's very well developed. You understand how things work here and what the lives of those who live here are like, so that you, again, are drawn deeper into it. However, I feel that I can't really talk about it anymore without giving away some major plot points that I think you should find out for yourself. In the end, do I recommend Mogworld? The answer is a definite yes. Yahtzee has clearly learned a lot from all the games he has reviewed and helped work on over the years. He understands how to pace a story and how to draw you into this world and make you invested in it. I would definitely recommend anyone who is a fan of Yahtzee's videos, who likes video games, or just wants to pick up a hilarious book to definitely grab it when they can. It's very funny and very engaging, and you will love reading it. But anyway guys, that's all for now. My name is Timpedia, and I will catch you guys next time.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lovely evening planned.